you doing? My name is Ryan Starr. I'm a husband, father, graphic designer, and podcaster. I'm really excited to be here. I've got a lot I want to share with you tonight, but I don't want to talk about my idea. I want to talk about yours, specifically the one you're doing nothing about. If you're like me, you probably have more than one, and it's probably not even a secret. It's probably something you talk about at parties when you've had a couple of drinks. You've got an idea for a novel. You just need to find time to start writing. You want to start acting, but nobody will go to improv class with you. You want to start an emu farm behind your row house in South Philly. You just need to apply for the proper permits. For me, it was I want to do a podcast. I've been listening to podcasts now for about 12 years. Different from radio, not quite an audiobook. Podcasts bring voices and stories to the forefront that often get a cursory glance or overlooked entirely. It's been a lot of fun to see the medium evolve as an art form. According to Apple, there were over 10 billion podcasts downloaded last year, and that's up 2 billion from 2015. But what's most compelling is how niche you can be with a topic and still cultivate an audience. A podcast about urban emus would probably do really well. So what would my podcast be about? Well, what made the most sense to me was to do a podcast about graphic design in Philadelphia. I've been doing my show, High Res, for about, oh, there's my listener. How you doing? I've been doing the show for about 2 years, but it really should be 3 because there was this whole year where I had the idea and I did nothing about it. And I think about that time a lot. I think I first said the idea out loud at work, probably because it sounded ambitious, albeit slightly vague. Was I serious about doing it? I guess. I liked the idea, but where would I record? How would I edit it once I did record it? And where the hell do you save a podcast so that people can download it? All these were things Google could have told me had I bothered to ask. I did, however, find the best microphone the blogosphere had to offer for podcasting, a Zoom H2. And I saved it to my Amazon wish list. And there it stayed for the next year. And over the course of that year, I became a master of the art of podcrastination. Whenever it came up, because I was the one bringing it up, of course, it was always met with casual interest, sometimes skepticism. Most of the time, it was just mortar to fill in the gaps in any crumbling conversation. Then one night, I'm riding the subway home with a coworker, and I'm talking about how this idea for a podcast that I put 0 effort into will probably never get off the ground. And his response was, well, what are you going to do? I don't know why that bothered me so much in that moment, but the first thing I thought was, I'm going to do a podcast. Why was I admitting defeat before I ever began? I went home, I bought the Zoom H2. I realized the hardest thing I would have to do is just get started. So why was I having all these conversations? What was I waiting for? Well, maybe it's the same thing that you're waiting for with your idea. Permission. Permission to start. Permission to spend hours wandering a maze that you might not find your way out of. Permission to fail. I wish I could bestow that upon you here and now, but I can't. The only one who has that power is you. And you've got to start tonight. Well, stay for the rest of the show, but start tonight, please. Because I'm telling you, you're going to learn so much about yourself, things you couldn't possibly have guessed. So I had the microphone, now what? Well, in the beginning, there was a lot of acting as if on my part. Act as if I knew what I was doing. Act as if somebody was listening. I surrounded myself with creative people. I held their successes up for others to see. I realized how important it was to be a fan of something, to be inquisitive, to ask that follow-up question. I didn't realize how welcoming the graphic design community would be. I didn't know any of this, and no amount of worrying or debating about it would have gotten me there. Sometimes you just have to jump and have faith that someone packed your parachute. Odds are you packed your own, and you didn't even realize it. Now, I'm a child of 80s sitcoms, so I love a good clip show. So at the first opportunity, I went back to create one of my own, which meant that I had to go back and listen to those horrible, cringeworthy episodes where I hadn't found my voice yet. Now, if I were to go back and listen to those episodes and be like, wow, I sound awesome, then I haven't really learned anything. You got to make mistakes. You got to take chances. If you're not nervous, you're doing it wrong. Every episode is a learning experience for me. Every episode is a chance to get it better the next time. Now, all of this only means anything if I've been successful, right? Well, how do you quantify the show as a success? And it's not because of download numbers or feedback, all of which has been quite positive. It's because of what I've learned about myself in doing the show. And there's no way to quantify that. It wasn't something I could have predicted. It wasn't even something I was seeking out. But doing the show has changed the way that I approach life and the people in it, to the point that it almost wouldn't have mattered if anyone listened. That being said, feel free to download at highrespod.com. Follow me on Twitter at highrespod. Give me 5 stars on iTunes. You know the deal. And you know what? I mean, if I didn't have the talent, I had the drive. And that's what's most important. And guess what? I still haven't found my voice. I'm sure of it. I need to keep moving. So invest in your idea. Invest in yourself. No Dickensian benefactor is going to step up and do it for you. We're never going to know who you are unless you tell us. You go out there and you be the best goddamn emu farmer this city has ever seen. I can't wait to see what you come up with. Thank you.
Don't wanna know about something that you don't understand. You got no fear of the underdog.